Howdy, friends. I am raring to go. I'm ready to play this dang game. Thanks for being cool with me starting late. Even if you weren't, I was still gonna do it anyway. But I had things I was doing. I had fun things I was doing. And now we're here. Hope y'all are doing well. I think I kind of just like want to jump into the game. Because I wanted to play more of it yesterday compared to like what we actually ended up playing, but I was very tired and I did get some good rest last night. So I'm feeling much better today. So we should be able to do like more or less our full stream, which is exciting. Yeah, I am just super pumped about this. We will be playing this today and on Wednesday. I plan on doing indie games on Friday. All things keeping to how it should be. And then I think we're gonna move Walking Dead to the weekends. But it won't be until Sunday that we start playing it again because I have something special planned for Saturday. But I think doing Walking Dead on the weekends will be nicer because it'll give us a little more wiggle room as far as time is concerned. Specifically on Saturdays, we can go a little longer or a little shorter, depending on when we get episodes done. So I think that'll be nice. So yeah, we'll do Ghostwire Tokyo during the weekdays for now, and then Walking Dead on the weekends. And I think that's gonna work out pretty dang well. Reminder, we have content warnings for this game, but there aren't any like official lists. So what I have down there is what I have seen or what we have come across, and it will be updated as we play. I'm gonna keep an eye out on Does the Dog Die to make sure, or to see if they end up getting a page for it, but so far there is nothing, and I just checked again, but I didn't think there would be anything since yesterday. But it's fairly tame compared to like some of the other games that we play regularly. So here's hoping, but just keep that in mind as we go on. I don't know what all we'll come across in this game. But it is really pretty and it's really cool and I'm very excited. So we're gonna hop on over here and I'm gonna launch the game because I didn't do that yet. Hopefully game capture decides to work. You are so loud. There it goes. There it goes. Maybe not. Don't be this loud. Maybe don't be this loud. But yeah, the long and short of it, as far as a recap is concerned, we are playing as a character named Akita, I believe. Hi Emmy. He seems to have died, but has been possessed by a spirit named KK, who is trying to stop some spooky man in a mask. Spooky man in the mask has brought in a fog into the Shibuya area of Tokyo, and is collecting spirits to try and do something. We don't know what, but KK seems hell-bent on stopping this dude, and we don't have much of a choice but to help him. And that's pretty much everything that has occurred. You are officially caught up. We got lots of cool powers. Oh. He's trying to have a monster mash. More or less? Maybe. He keeps going on about... Hold on, he's saying things. Is it a win-win? Yeah, KK, or the guy, the masked man, I need the Tengus to stop screaming at me constantly. Masked man keeps saying that he's like the soul's salvation. He's their only salvation, which, you know, seems incorrect. But... Oh, no, I want that. No, I want those. Give me those. I don't know if I trust KK at all here. He seems a little sketchy. But, you know, who am I to judge? Yeah, we're Spooderman. We like to just swing from Tengu to Tengu. That's what normal people do, right? There's a lady here? Or is it these? It's these. We have to go around and find spirits and collect them and return them to modified phone booths to... Oh, we're falling. Oh, we're falling. So that their spirits can be returned to the real world. Just see through the ground. And be brought back as people again, is my general understanding. Yeah. There's a lot that we're learning as we play. They really did just kind of throw us into everything, and we're like, all right, do it. And you're like, okay, sure. I guess that's fine. I'm just running around like this, trying to remember controls more than anything, and I think I've got them. So, we were doing some side quests. That's not my map. Where is... Oh, I have to turn in? Yeah, we have to turn in a quest. We do have the Japanese voices on, because I like the voice acting better for the Japanese voices. And we have English subs on, obviously. But I will say it again, if people find that to be difficult to follow at any point, let me know and we can switch it over. I like the Japanese voice acting better though, so that's what we're sticking with for now. But yeah, it's cool. It's really pretty. The monsters are pretty neat. Combat is extremely straightforward. It's not particularly difficult. The old man concerned about water is thankful for what we did. Great. And now he's gone. Okay, is that all we had to do here? Can we go here? Let's do that. Also, I think I can level up a little bit, which would be great. Ground core grab might be fun. Speed at which we can absorb spirits would probably be good. Although there should be I don't think it's brain juice. I don't know. It's told me how I get experience, and it's obviously from fighting, but I don't remember specifically how we get that. It's fine, I'm sure. HP restored by enemy core extraction. Enemy cores are exposed. Ground attack boost. Ground core grab. Speed boost. I'm gonna do the absorption and melee core grab for now. We're gonna get rid of all of the new markers because they annoy me. You're worried about it, actually. I don't know. I'm incredibly worried about it. It's fine, I'm sure. I'm sure it's fine. Okay, well, we upgraded a little bit, and that's nice. Yeah, and so we have to, like, so the world is still, like, affected by the fog, right? So we do have to, like, clear out the fog by cleansing Tori shrines. And oh, there's also these things, these spots of corruption, which we can fix. Who is shooting at me? Got these gross businessmen everywhere. Oh. Okay, this is fine. Ma'am. This is fine. That looked incredibly loud. It sounded incredibly loud. Not the Slendermans. So I'm gonna turn it down a bit, because that looked horribly loud. I know it was incredibly loud for me. Where? There. Give me the spirits. Give me the spirits. Give me the spirits. I know we can get experience from, like, turning in those. Give me up here. We would like it to be a little quieter than me. Just a smidge. I don't necessarily want it, like, as quiet as some of the games that we've played previously have been. But I would like it to be just a smidge quieter than me. You know how it is. Okay, let's climb up here. Look at all these spirits! Let's get them. So we have this little paper, right, that's supposed to help us, or like enable us to collect spirits, right? It fills up incredibly quickly. Cleansing large shrines. Large shrines throughout Shibuya have multiple torii gates and have been corrupted. Cleansing all the torii gates at a given shrine will clear the fog in the surrounding area. Cleansing a large shrine has many benefits, such as revealing hidden spirits and unlocking new shops and omikuji locations. Great! I have been spotted. Where are they? Where are the ghosties? Oh, this hurts me. This is horrible and it hurts. This is fine. Look at that. Look at that. Great. Okay, so where are these giant shrines? What is up with all these crows? Oh, is this where the shrine is? How? Hold on, I'm trying to make sure I don't miss anything up here. There's one. There's one. Okay, well, it's fine. Okay, let's cleanse the gate first. Oh, this is main quest stuff, isn't it? Hey, no kicking. No kicking. Cleanse that shrine. Get it. I did it. Again, this game is just really pretty. I don't usually like hyper fixate on how a game looks, but this game is dang pretty. Give me that. I want more bullets for my finger guns. Pick up. What is it? Golden tea bowl. Tea bowl used for Japanese tea ceremonies, coated with gold. Okay. Oh, that's where I was trying to go. I should... Since we're here, we might as well finish cleansing this shrine, right? Do we have any visitors? We do. What if we just get rid of his stuff? He just gives me his things. Anyone else? Over there. Give me the dog food. There are dogs in this game that you can feed, and they give you money, and they're very good. You can pet the dogs, by the way. So obviously that makes this a perfect game. Okay, that's not cleared out yet. Ooh! No, okay. That's fine. This is fine. That's okay. What is this? Nether watermelon? Hella. Hi. I want to get on top of there? Okay, maybe I don't, actually. Maybe I don't want to be up there. Oh, hi! Oh, this is a problem. Oh, this is a problem. I am out of bullets. Oh! Oh, I've died. This is fine. I panicked and I ran away when I shouldn't have run away. I need to figure out... I don't like block being the scroll wheel click. So maybe... What if we... This is not where I want to be. Options, controls, key assignment. What if I do my block as that key? That makes a little more sense to my brain. What if I... Is anything E? There's a thing that is E. What is this? Change ethereal weaving elemental attack wheel? No, we'll just stick with that. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Give me your gubbins. Much better. Much better. So also just make sure that I have enough bullets. Oh. Which way is he facing? Nope. Nope, he saw me. I've been spotted. That's fine. Where are they? Oh! Okay, let's eat some food. Give me that. We'll heal up just a little bit from it. Great. Where's the other one? Gooby Gubbins. We love the Gooby Gubbins here. Listen. Oh. Great. That went much better. Well, we'll let us have a single death. That's fine. And now the crows are all leaving. Great. We've done it. Go team. Oh, there's people up there. We can fast travel. Excuse you, car. Open up the map and press R. What's here? Is it these spirits that I see over here? Oh. We need to find us... Omikuji effects. At shrines, you can draw power fortunes known as Omikuji. These fortunes can be good or bad and will affect you accordingly. All effects from Omikuji are temporary. You can only have one Omikuji effect active at a time, even if you find charms that allow you to maintain multiple buffs. Potential effects order from luckiest to unluckiest. Daikichi, for a limited time, XP rewards for defeating visitors will be tripled. Kichi, for a limited time, damage inflicted by visitors will be halved. Kukichi, your HP will not decrease beyond critical level, excluding fog damage. Shokichi, the Omeka received from my ether crystals will be doubled. Tsukichi, wind carries the faint strains of the Tokyo Bond Dance. This means nothing to me. Kyo is visitors spring forth nearby. Daikyo, HP is immediately reduced to 1. Oh, I hate that. Also, what is this? Unlucky year chart. There are some ages in a person's life where misfortunes tend to befall them more regularly. During these critical years, which vary depending on a person's gender, as well as the years before and after them, it's important to be proactive in warding off bad fortunes before it's too late. You can find the critical years for both genders listed below. Okay, that's fine. I don't know if I want to take that gamble, though. Listen. Okay, that's just a calendar. I don't necessarily know that I'm going to keep reading everything that we're finding. Like, I will grab them if I see them. But give me that nether dongo. Wait, I don't know that I'm going to, like, read them out. Anyway. Okay, where is this? Go for it. What we get? Omikuji! Your HP will not be decreased beyond critical level. Great. Cool. Okay. Where is this boy and why is he still screaming? I appreciate the fact that the Tengus are, like, letting you know where they are, but if they could be a little less intrusive, that would be cool. Oh, I can't absorb anymore. Hold on. Where? Okay, yeah, no, I understand. There's new things that we can do. I need to go here. We need to go to the payphone. Alright, let me go to the payphone. Well, this is great too, because there are some spirits left here. I've done a very bad job at clearing out all of the spirits. Oh. For some reason, I thought that was Lamia for a second, and I couldn't figure out why it was coming from the left side of my headphones when she's below me. Also, yeah, give me that money and that experience. Let's go. Alright. Also, kitty cat, what do you got? We love the Nekomata here. Something. Wait. You want me to look for things for you? No, KK, we'll do it. I'll understand. I'll compensate you for your trouble. Promise. Now let's get down to business, shall we? Let's go, kitty cat. Anything for you. Oh, hey, look. I have. Oh. Okay, so sometimes Nekomata will request that you track down traditional objects for them. Should you find these items and bring them back, you'll be rewarded in kind. Not the Nekomancer! Not gonna be making the noise. I did it once. Never again. I think I did it like twice, actually. We have lots of things that we gotta find. Oh, wait. He's got a mask on! I love him! I wanted to go to the shop, but I love him. Excuse me, I can change outfits? Not photo mode poses. We're not gonna do that. He is a lion, look at him! Okay, my bad. Excuse me. He's ferocious and I love him. Hi, kitty. What do you have? You have food, don't you? Taiyaki, please. Hi, Ams. How are you doing, friend? Thank you for the lurk. I hope work goes well. I'll get you a taiyaki, don't worry. I'll share. Always. I will always share with my friends. Custard filling, understood. I'm a red bean paste fan myself. Fried chicken. I love how there's just all these cats here. Makes me very happy. Hi, baby. But yeah, I hope work goes well for you, Ams. Thanks for hanging out. All the crap going on around here has made it impossible to get a good nap in. Do you want me to, like, clear out what's happening? Also, what is this? Okay, we're gonna help these people. Grab before I get hit. Grab before I get hit. Sometimes you will find the visitors trying to trap souls, and you gotta stop them from doing that. So we're doing that. Alright? Okay. Okay. I think you just have to clear them out, and then the boxes will break eventually. I just wanted to be sure that I wasn't ruining it. Okay, this is what I had marked. What is going on over here? Realized I interrupted KK from talking, but... I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to find a demon umbrella? Okay, are we supposed to stop? How am I supposed to catch it? No, come back! Come back! I like this. Look at this silly little umbrella buddy. Oh, he's got a face! We got a Magatama. In addition to ordinary spirits, you can also absorb yokai, which will reward you with Magatama. Magatama are used on the skills menu to unlock sections of the skill tree and open... Oh, that's what those were. Okay. We got the Karakasa. Perfect. Wasn't even worried. Give me your money. We can probably afford a couple more paper dolls so that I can absorb more spirits and not have to stop as often. I should also probably, like, continue on with the main story stuff, but I'm kind of having fun just, like, wandering around and collecting things. You know? You know? Oh, I should go turn this in. Gotta give the umbrella back to that kid. Hi, kid. Yeah? Alright, bye, child. Great. Now what? What else can we do? I mean, I did that. What is that? Golden tea bowl. Wait, didn't I get that? Is there a way to show, like, to not have things that I've already found? Hide completed icons. Great. There we go. That is what I wanted. Okay, what? Offering box. Which is different from the Omukuji. I kind of want to go over here. Voice in the wall. So what's this? Tengu. Let's go here since we're closer. And then we'll kind of work our way back up. Chill, door. I do want to stop at a thrift shop so that we can get another paper doll. No, sir. Prepared beefer. Cat, please. What do we have? This. I can buy 11 of them. I've done it. I've purchased many. Okay, hold on. Can we have lots of dog food. We'll buy some of all of this. Because why not? Great, we have lots of food now. How many spirits can I hold now? I feel like what I have grabbed is too much. Like, I don't know. Alright, what's going on here? Zashika Warashi? I don't know how to say. Okay. Gotta go beat up a landlord. If it means beating up a landlord, absolutely.
そういうのやめなよ。
じゃあこれを持っていってください。
塩せんべい
Rice crackers.
これはこの大好物なんじゃ。床の間の青い器にお供えすれば必ず姿を現すはずじゃから。
Okay. Where's this bowl? In here? Let's do it. Let's find this little buddy.
座敷わらし
Can't have any more of those. Hello? Oh, I kind of hate this. Wait, second scrap from Landlord's Diary. Stupid Zashiki's Warashi. I can't sleep with all that crying it does. It's driving me up the wall. And what gives? It's been 3 months since I took it, and my fortunes are not improving. Why? I'm not any richer than I was before. In fact, all the cash I borrowed got stolen by some lousy thief. Debt collectors are practically banging down the door day after day. I just gotta hang in there a little longer. I'm sure my patience will be rewarded. I've got myself a golden goose here, and I'm not letting anyone else have it. I want to be ready for when this Zashiki Warashi starts making it rain on me. So I bought a good lockbox. I'll keep the key stashed in the Buddhist altar in the bedroom until my luck turns around. No one will ever be able to find it there, and I'm not telling a soul. Except you've written it down.
座敷わらし
So
ひどい目に遭ってなければいいけど
it's too much crying.
ずっと泣いてる
Okay, so lockbox in the... Sorry, I'm opening everything. Lockbox in the bedroom. Buddha Seltzer is supposed to be here. Try using your power. That one is pretty impressive. Being able to just hide away an entire altar. Alright, house floor plan found stashed in a lockbox. We are in here. So I need to go.
この図だと右下あたりか
Yeah, so it's over here? Yeah! Oh! Oh! Sir? You stole it! I think I'm gonna have to do a murder on the landlord, and honestly, I'm not torn up about it. There we go. Oh, we have to do one of these. Up, and then a circle. Yeah, that was wild. Back. Oh, I see. There you go. Precious. It's fine. We don't need to feel any luckier. We feel fine. Because we helped the sweet little spirit. Look at them! Precious.
これじゃヤラスのじいさんと変わらんわい。
やれやれ。
Not the doll watch.
思い残すことはありません。
But we did it. I don't like that. Bye. Wait, receive power? Oh, okay. I was like, I can hold up to 25 spirits now.
まだどこかにいるはずだ。
That's pretty nice. Hi, kitten. Sorry, Lamia's like down here hugging my foot. It's being a goober. What does that do? Oh! That's an explodey. Yeah, no, I understand that. Got that now.
おい、準備しろ。
Ah! 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 I am out of... Oh. Blocking immediately before an enemy attack lands will trigger a perfect block! Oh, parry. Without taking any damage whatsoever. Beautiful. We love that for me. I need bullets. Hey, game. I need bullets. Give that. Eat that. Stab. Grab. Let's go. Ma'am. I need you to not be so wiggly, okay? Oh, this hurts. Oh, butts. How do I get to her? Hey, ma'am? If you'd be so kind as to not be on the opposite side of this thing from me, that would be cool. Where do I shoot? Right there. Let's go. Look at that. Alright, I desperately need bullets. Which, like, shouldn't be too hard to find. They're everywhere. I've just been doing a bad job of refilling. I was doing so fine on them for so long that I was just like, who needs them anymore? Me. I need them still. So grab that. Dog, do you want food? Yeah, give food. Give me some money, bud, so I can give you more food. Thanks.
ちょっと元気になったかな。
腹が減ってたんだろうな。
Give me your food. I mean money. Give me your money. Thank you, dog. Okay, I should still look for bullets, but there's also food all over the place. And that's foggy, so I can't be over there. There's spirits up there, though. And there's money over here. We should probably go do more main quest stuff. Right? Like, that seems like a good option. Go to the next, like, big waypoint. But there's so much stuff, and I want all of it.
見えないものをあぶり出すんだ。
No, I understand, KK. Like, listen. I got it, buddy. Don't have to charge up, I realize. Okay. That's fine. this is my problem with these kinds of games, is I get so distracted by everything else that I just stop doing main quest things entirely. Oh, okay. Maybe we just don't go over there yet. Unless... Whoa! Whoa! Oh!
ありがとう。
AY 来るぞ。
That's a Kuchisaka Onna. That's a slit-mouthed woman. It's gotta be. Oh!
そんな状況じゃねえだろ。
Okay, that hurt. That run, though. I need more bullets. Ah! Oh, those noises. Did we do it? Do you want to know what she is? Sorry. Oh, that was horrible. I really liked that, but oh god, that was terrifying. I gotta get rid of all the notifications. Kuchisaka! Type of visitor born from a frenzied rage. They wield deadly one-handed weapons as they hunt and butcher their living prey. I'll throw the gun at her. Please. Gonna tell her to be quiet and she's gonna keep talking at me. Okay, hold on. I am curious about... Wait, I have things that I can level up. Range boost. Let's do the HP restoration. And then... Look at our buddy! Database. Oh, that's Ed. Our gun is just our hands going pew pew. I will throw hands. Let's go. Okay, hold on. Rainwalker, born from the hearts of those pushed to the point of utter exhaustion by their work, they apply an equally exhaustive approach to their work, robbing the living of their life force. Student of misery. Visitor born from the anxieties of young female students, they are quick to act and attack with merciless tenacity. Paper doll. Born from a life spent maintaining a vapid facade, empty smiles ever at the ready. They spread the very same negative energy they have been forced to bear. Got wanderers. Born from the desire to run away. Instead, it lies only a void, floats in the air and attacks from above. I've read about the Kuchisaka. Tengu. A mystical variety of yokai believed to reside deep within Japanese mountains. They are possessed of exceptionally high spiritual power, and any number of mysterious incidents in the mountains are often attributed to Tengu influence. One such incident is known as, in Japanese as Tengu Daoshi, roughly translated as a Tengu fall. This involves a tree being heard falling in the middle of the night, only for there to be no evidence of such an event having taken place. Okay, that's a lot to read. I don't necessarily need to read all of these. I just wanted the... just wanted to make sure I was right about that lady. Slitmouth Woman is a cool... I guess she's like an urban legend. That's what you would... That's what she would be referred to as. Basically, if you meet her, no matter what, you're kind of fucked. New powers? New powers? New powers! Water weaving in his attack with aquatic blades that strike a wide area, making them deadly at close range. Cool. Might change that by doing this. I like that. That's cool. Alright. I have a t-shirt with a Kuchisaka Onna on it. I don't have it with me, but...
いいぞ順調だ
Oh, wait, no, come back! It's a very quick elevator. Holy crap. It goes zoom. Okay, alright, okay. How... Come on, pick up. I would like to get up there? I would like to get up there. How do I go about getting up there? Like this. This is fine. We'll absorb those, and then there was more down here. Great. Great. I don't actually need this. Everything is at max level. Perfect. Where is... Okay. There's our next marker, but there's more spirits over here. If I find a spirit, I gotta get it. Whoa! Man. Give. I'm just gonna wreck their shit.
見直したぜ
This is fine. Give me all the spirits. We're gonna have to turn these in very, very soon. Again, the issue is I'm gonna get here. We're gonna do all this. And then I'm gonna be probably just like fully upgraded for the entire game. So I hope that this is at least somewhat interesting for you to watch, because I'm having fun playing it. Either way, I'm gonna do this. I like it. Give me this. Okay, that's the way that we need to go. But I do need to find a phone booth. Never mind. Don't have to find shit. It's right here. Perfect. It'll be great, because we'll just level up and be able to do everything all at once. Look at all that experience. Look at it. Cool beans. Does Ed have something new to say? That's less than 5% of the total population. Look, I'm trying, buddy. Yeah, increase my health.
信心深いな
こういう時だからね
Oh, I wonder... Okay, so I remember... I think it was Voss who pointed it out. That Jizo shrines are usually have red capes or red robes on. I wonder if... Because that just said that, like, my wind ammo was increased. So I wonder if, like, the colors correspond to which power they upgrade. So, like, green is wind, blue will be my water power, so on and so forth. Which would make sense, and also explain why they're not the traditional color. Okay, we got... Oh, can I go in here now? No. No, I just can't go in here at all. Understood. There was stuff here, though, wasn't there? Yeah. Yeah. More spirits. Okay. We should probably go do the... Should probably go do this now. What is that? Oh, that's one of the cats. The Nekomata. Understood. I keep thinking
やるしかねえな。
in an area that I have cleared it out. I've gotten all the spirits and stuff. Clearly that's not the case.
なんだ
What's what? You make an offering of mecha, you'll be rewarded in proportion to the amount that you donate. Once you've confirmed the amount of mecha that you wish to donate, you'll then choose a prayer to complete the process. Okay. Let's donate 500. Oh. Wish I could find more Jesus statues.
これでよし
I should do it. Give me that. Am I getting another power already? Cool. Oh! Fire weaving summons powerful long-range lances of flame. Charging the attack will transform the lances into balls that explode and can damage many visitors at once. Yeah, I know how to cycle through.
寄り道した甲斐はあったな。次は情報を集めるぞ。
Ed Warren? The other day I ordered 10 Kayshurrr from your shrine. I'd like to increase the order to 15. I apologize for the sudden request. Pay any additional fees you require.
渡せる場所はないか。
Is
カ
that
フェ
an
の展望台とか
Ed and Lorraine Warren reference?
ここらの霧も晴れたはずだ。
Okay.
エリアに向かうぜ。
Okay. Listen here. That seems incorrect. This seems like the wrong place for that.
何か言ってる
おい。
Hi. Hi.
も
Hey, boyos. I like how it's a weird Tanuki. You can see you ain't just some run-of-the-mill chumps, so let me lay something on ya. Me and my crew came here from Sumoto to take in the sights, but then all hell broke loose. I'd get them myself, but my back's being a real pain in the back. You go hunt them down for me? Being Tanuki, they'll be shapeshifted into something or other, but I'm sure you'll find them. Once you do, tell them to get their furry butts back to the boss, pronto! Gagla Tanuki recently trekked to Tokyo, but then got up and got themselves lost. Okay. Keep a wary eye out the seat you're sitting on, that big bowl of ramen you're about to tuck into, the conspicuously out-of-place road sign you spotted. They could all be transformed Tanuki in disguise. Okay, I see. Yeah? Okay. I can do that. Go back, let me know what you dig up. Alright. Something that shouldn't be here. Me. Is it me? What if I just hit
気になって
everything?
たんだけど国の番犬って警察ってこと
ああ、そうだ。警察は嫌いか。
いやその割には口が悪いなと思って
警察なんてこんなもんだよ。
Wait, is that pointing me to what I need to find? Oh no, that's just, okay, that's just a regular side mission, which we will do. But I want to find this Tanuki. It's hard to tell what belongs and what does. Okay, buddy. Time to get back to the boss. I love them. I love them so much. I don't care if they're mischievous and greedy. I love them. Okay, hold on. Give me this. And what do you need, buddy?
ここで供養をしていた人形が逃げ出したんです。
Number.
私はその後すぐに事故で死んでしまいました。
Rip.
髪が伸びたり、供養に出しても戻ってきたり、気味悪くて。Excuse me. 全部あの呪われた人形のせいなんです。見つけ出して供養してもらえませんか。
どんな人形なんですか？
先に亡くなったあれが大事にしてた日本人形なんです。
Find the doll, put it to rest. Understood.
何かが宿ってるな。ここから人形の思念を終えるはずだ。よし、思念が見えたぞ。
It's over here? Oh wait, no, this is still the... I need to stop accidentally punching everything. You're welcome, buddy. Big hill way up north. I'll be meeting my boys at the shrine up there. How many am I supposed to find? I might have missed how many Tanuki are here. Okay, well, that's a future me problem. Let's... Oh, God. Oh, I hate this. Boop 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 boop. Haunted doll watch. Q and Tab are far too close for my liking. Gotta find another way. Okay, can I...
なんで宙に浮くほどの力を持ったのかな。
Why are we jumping to it being possessed by a dead killer? Oh.
サブスクじゃないんだ。
I do appreciate how sassy Akito is to KK. There's just something about it that's very funny to me. Get him! Bad face, bad face, bad face. Get him! There's a lot of cats over here. Can it stop going places that I can't fit? Please. It's I'd believe that. That tracks. I love it. Get me up here. Okay. We love Bad Ben here, alright? Very good. Whoa, whoa! We're zooming! Climb. Oh, I've been spotted. Oh, this is a problem. Let's grab that. I would love if Bad Ben made an appearance in this. Something tells me that the likelihood is very slim, but one could hope. Especially if we're gonna include hacks like the Warrens. Boof. Excuse?
いたぞ。
Oh!
今のは人形の声？
見ろ。あの藁人形には呪いが施されている。
It's
あれをお
definitely
祓いすれば
cursed.
いいんだね。
Excuse me. Kind of like those little doodles that I have to do. Okay, Lamia, I need my foot back. You've been laying on it for too long. Hi!
ありがとうございます。誰かがあの藁人形で弟を呪っていたんです。
弟さんって
Excuse me, sorry.
神社にいた男の人？
はい。私がずっと守り続けていたんですが、離れてしまったせいで。
Aww.
弟は呪い殺され、成仏すらできずにいました。
Aww.
だからせめて、その呪縛を解いてやりたかったんです。これで私も安心して成仏できます。
Sweet doll. Nice lady.
神社の霊に人形を届けて本当のことを教えてあげなきゃ。
人形のせいで死んだと勘違いしてたからな。
本当
Okay,
は
hold
守
on.
ってくれて。
Kappa? Excuse me, we gotta do that at some point, but I also need to... Is that correct? Oh, hold on. We're gonna go to the Jesus statue first. Oh. Okay, that's why it wasn't showing me where I needed to go. Jesus statue is a little further away, but that's okay. We're gonna do that. Oh. Just slightly further away. Cool.
これでよし。
And then
頼むぜ、お地蔵さん。
we'll go over here. Do some collecting. Okay. I wonder what the cap is for the paper dolls. Like, how many can I have? Want more red ether, please? No? Okay. Alright.
見つけてくれたんですね。
We found the doll.
ありがとうございます。早速その気味悪い人形を燃やしてもらえませんか。
Hey,
この
buddy.
人形に宿っていたのは
Listen, listen, pal.
あなたを呪うための藁人形があって、彼女が身代わりになってあなたを守ってたんだ。
姉さんだ。それじゃあ私が
Yeah.
お前が守り神を手放したからだ。
まさかこの人形の中に姉さんがいた。
Bet you feel bad now, buddy.
それを私は。姉さん、すまない。許してくれ。
姉のおかげでお前ももう成仏できるはずだ。
彼女もあなたを救ったことで安心して成仏したよ。
本当にありがとうございました。
礼はあの世で姉に言うんだ
I
な。
like these side quests. They're very sweet. Oh,
よし、上出来だ。
don't call it halfway decent. I did a great job. Listen. Okay, can I do that? I've already claimed what was here. Okay. Now where? I gotta get that. We gotta get the little toy. Kitty cat? I don't know what... So, like, I know that I can give food to the dogs, and they'll give me coins. And I assume that if I, like, clear an area, the cats will give me something, but I've not been able to do that yet. Also, is there a collectible in here? Did I just miss it? Oh, I bet it's in that room. Maybe. Possibly. Or not. There it is. Okay. I think I kind of want to, like, 100% this. It's taiyaki. We love taiyaki here. But yeah, I think I kind of want to do that, but I don't know, like, if I want to do that all on stream. So yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure it out. Oh, I can get it from here? Nice. Get it. Get it. It's yummy. If I could get the pan, I could make it. Same with takoyaki. I would like to be able to make that, but the pans for those are expensive. I would love to make it. But I need the equipment. Listen. Okay. Where am I trying to go? House. Shop stall, handicraft nekomata. It's a hoarder's house. Artsy nekomata. Just use current equipment poorly. I mean, could. Listen. Could do that. I want to do this Kappa one. And then we can do the main quest since it's like right next to it. Thank you for the lurk, Travis. I mean, at that point, you might as well... I was gonna say... I really just want to make some red bean paste and put it in everything right now. This is what I want. Or do some, like... just sweet buns in general, I think is, like, what I'm craving. Or do, like, a barbecue pork bun? I'd probably just, like, replace the pork with chicken, though. Because I don't like pork as much. I don't know. I just want things. I just want bready things. I just want bread things. What does this look like charged up? Ouch! Holy shit! Ow! Listen, the need for bread does not stop when you're trying to beat up a ghost, okay? When you need bread, you need bread. Sometimes you just get hungry for a snack. Ah, yes! Motherfucking bread crumbs! Large lad! Hi, I kinda love you? I like that they all, like, I like that those guys have, like, a variety to them. They all look a little different. Some have, like, broken umbrellas, others have suit jackets on. And now we've seen a large lad, and that makes me happy. I don't know. I'm a simple lady with simple needs. It's nice. It's nice having, like, the variety between all of them. It's cool. It's also just nice seeing bigger bodies in video games. Oh god. Up, down, there. Absorb. We did it. That's a lot of money. I want to try... I want to buy more paper dolls again. Oops. Oops. Oops, I have been spotted. Grab him, get him, go. Give me that. Hey, if you could not shoot me, that would be nice. Less shooting me, more giving me your cores. Thank you. It's very hard to... What is that to my left? Oh, that's just the corruption. Okay. I was very concerned for a minute. Oh, buddy, you're stuck down there. Oh, God, you're not stuck down there, actually. Did that attack just bounce off his umbrella? Sir, are you aware that you're a bedsheet? Hey, did you know that you are, in fact, a bedsheet? Ma'am, are you aware that you are a dog? I do wanna finish our new Bloodborne run at some point. I just got very excited to try something new. So maybe after we finish this, we'll do some Bloodborne again. There we go. I need to see how Slimp's journey ends, though. We love Slimp here. I don't know, I guess that is if everyone's interested in watching me play Bloodborne again. Lady business lady. Business lady. It's not just the boys. It lady too. I like this game. Kind of a fan of this. Okay, let's grab these. Sorry, I can open these. Assets you can smell. I don't like that. Okay, let's finish getting all of the spirits that are over here. I assume that there is like a set number of spirits that can be gotten, right? I'm curious as to how many there actually are. Also, we should probably go ahead and do this while we're here. Ugh, knees. Okay. What am I doing over here? Where am I going? I have already forgotten what my plan was. What was I trying to accomplish? What are you? Ah! Oh, fuck. Okay, hold on. Yeah, didn't like Raincoat Kid? Raincoat Kid's a fucking narc. Ow. Yikes. That kind of freaked out my game for a second, but that's fine. Ah! There we go. I did it! Not a fan of Raincoat Kid. That's what we're getting at, basically. Didn't appreciate their bullshit. Also, map. There's a shrine. Up there? That's too far. That's too far away. Can't go up there. That's not allowed. Understood. Got it. How do I get up there? I haven't heard of Tengu in a while, and the one that I saw was too high up. So maybe we just go this way for a little bit. Maybe we don't worry about it, and we just go this way for a little bit. Maybe we go to the next, well, hold on. This doesn't go up any further than that. Okay. Maybe we just go to the next, like, main story bit. And, figure it out from there. I like the large lads. Sorry, they're very precious. I like them. What's up here? What was that noise? Oh! Where's his voice coming from? It's Mask Man. Okay. I hate these stairs.
の地位を貶められる必要などない。よく魂たちよ。
Okay, is this how? Oh! Okay, what's your deal? Oh, it's the Kappa one. Okay. Cool. I wanted to find the shrine to clear out the fog, but we can do this. Yeah? Okay, actually, maybe I have to do the... No, I don't. Okay. Oh. Hey, I have some cucumbers.
シリコ玉を抜かれたな。カッパにちょっかい出すからだ。俺が取り返してやる。キュウリはあるか？よし、これでカッパを呼び寄せるぞ。
Did he give me a cucumber? Because I had cucumbers. I distinctly remember purchasing some cucumbers. That looks a little bit more like a zucchini, though, if we're being honest. Look at him! I love him! Stupid idiot turtle.
キュウリ食ってる時が狙い目だぞ。焦んなよ。霊視してあいつの動きを探るんだ。
Oh, that's what you want me to do? There you go, buddy. Oh god, where is he? Can I get him? I love him. I love him. Kappa are so goofy looking, and they're horrifying, and I adore it. This does just kind of make me want to play Okami again. Just all the talk of yokai and Japanese myths. Love that game. Maybe hey, listen, hey! Actually, I do need to go up this way. Alright, get fucked. That doesn't surprise me. I've never played Neo before. I've heard good things about it. Oh god, I'm gonna get hit. Oh god. I do also just have like a lot of nostalgia for... Whoa! Ma'am! A lot of nostalgia for Okami. Eat that food. Here we go. We did it. I need loads of ammo, please. Elevator doesn't work. Okay. I like the casual mention of control in there. Very good. I did start a playthrough a bit ago of Control, but using an actual controller, and it did make it a lot better. So I just need to finish it at some point. But I'd be willing to check out Neo. Oh, it worked! Up! 8th floor. Going up. Oof. Ugh. Woof. Hi, Salvia. How's it going? How are you doing? How's your day been? Who is this lad? Oh, that's a big boy. Okay, this is fine. This is fine. It is about defeating ghosts and demons, in order to retrieve spirits and bring them back to life, is my general understanding. We're still fairly early in, so my understanding of the game will probably change as we go along. But basically we're playing as a young man, who has been possessed by some sort of spirit. There is an evil dude who has brought some sort of mist through Shibuya, in order to collect spirits for some nefarious purposes, like you do. And we're trying to stop him. It's very cool. I'm really digging it so far. It's really lovely looking. The gameplay is fun. It's very, like, straightforward and simple. But it is fun, so that's all that matters. And I'm intrigued by the story. I say as I don't progress the story at all because I'm getting distracted by literally everything. But yeah, it's super cool. Yeah, how are you doing, friend? How's it going? Let's go up here. I want to find that shrine. Right? We just gotta punch a few things. It's great. Don't you worry about it. Hey, if we could not shoot me as much as we're shooting me, I would super appreciate it. Oh, this is not great. Actually, that fire move is like super strong. No wonder they only give me like a handful of bullets for that. Okay, where are all of the ghosts? There are so many shiny things to get. I'm really digging it. It's very cool. It is, it just came out a couple weeks ago, but if you're interested in checking it out, !game link, so you can maybe wishlist it or share it with your friends. If you want, that is. Alright, let's cleanse the Torii Gate. Hey. Do you wanna... Oh, it's a big one! But yeah, the visuals of this game are stunning, honestly. I was saying earlier, like, I'm not usually somebody who, like, hyper-fixates on how a game looks. But I think that's, like, the biggest appeal about this for me, is that it just looks cool. And it's very satisfying just looking at everything. And sometimes we draw things with our hands. And that's cool. But yeah. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I don't know that I trust, KK, the spirit that is inhabiting our body. I don't know that I trust him. But, you know, it's fine. Hi, boss! I, too, like drawing things with my hands. Listen. How's it going, friend? How are you doing? Look at that. Oh, there's... Okay, that's how many spirits there are. There are like 240,000 of them. Oh, boy. I mean, we're getting, like, hundreds at a time. So it's not like, you know, I have to get 240,000 individual. That's still a lot, though. Considering I picked up so many and I'm only at 15,000. Traps will do it. You gotta share. You gotta share. You can have lots, but you gotta share. Talismans. It said something about stunning enemies. It didn't read it, honestly. Not the Kuchisaka Ona again. Use. Ah! Ma'am? Okay, this is a problem. There we go, there we go! We did it. Those ladies are terrifying. They're very strong and they're very fast. I love spicy things. I've had a spicy onigiri before and it's delicious. Dancing Headless Student, a report written by KK regarding images of headless students posted on social media. Acquiring this will grant you additional spirit skill points. Nice! Let's... yeah, no, I'm aware, game. We found a couple of those already. Yeah, so we got 102 spirits this time. Give me that. Never mind, I can't have that. I need to get more bullets. So I need to break some things. So that we can... not... or so that we can shoot things. Have you considered doing an eat at me? Consider. Get some food. Alright, what do we got? Where are you making me look? Okay. We will do that. I forgot it was Monday. I knew it was Monday, but I forgot that it was Monday. I forgot what Monday entailed, honestly. Soon. You're gonna get off soon. Okay. Continue to go upwards. Or... boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, she healed her! That's incredibly rude of you, ma'am. You can't just do that. Give me this. have grabbed it. Oh well. That's fine. We're just gonna punch the things, grab the money, check the thing, shoot it, maybe, and then absorb some spirits. Like you do. Nice, nice. That sounds delicious, honestly. Yeah, I'm definitely getting hungry thinking about all this food. I would like to do an eat, please. That's not what I wanted to do. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to punch the man in the back. Okay. Where... I don't necessarily want to stop every, like, 10 seconds to do this. Yes. Ooh, there are some spirits getting absorbed over there, and I can't help because I'm in a menu. Look, sausages and charred slash rhubarb, very good. We're here for it. Here for it. Okay, well I didn't get all of the spirits here, which is a little unfortunate, but you know, it happens. Oop. Oh, that's not what I wanted. That girl just, like, track ran at me. Let's do this. Get fucked, man. Did I do it bad? I think I did it bad. Oh well. Get me up there. I like that the Tengu just like freak out when I latch onto them. It's very good. Alright, let's get up to where we need to go. Get some more bullets first. I keep saying that I'm gonna do this. And then, again, I get distracted because there's so much to look at. Yeah! Yeah! It's very good. It's just, there's a lot of like little touches like that, and I really like it. I don't know, it's neat. Everywhere when you explode monsters, they turn into kanji. When you shoot stuff, your bullets are. It's very aesthetically pleasing. And once you start noticing it, that's it. Wait, I'm just trying to shoot the buddy. Nice. Can we... Give me that. Never mind. Can't pick that up. I have too many arrows on me. What the chicken doing? Stuff? Hold on. Get out of my face! Oh, this is not great. This is not great. Incredibly not great. Give me that so I can heal. That is too many ghosties. Let me tell you right now. That's too many. At least these guys go down easy. Okay. 3 solid hits and they're out. Great. Give me all of this. Okay. Okay. Where do I shoot you? Can I not? Hold on. It's there. I need to be on the other side. Hold on a second. How do I get to the other side? I want it. Ooh. Don't turn around. Don't turn around. Okay. Come here. I love that ground move. Perfect. Okay. Is there anything over there? Do you think I could jump over there? Probably. If I really wanted to. Yeah, what is it? Gib. Gust beads? New set of prayer beads. Okay, hold on. Gotta equip our prayer beads. Equip. Wind elemental attack power plus 20%. Nice. Also, I have a lot of money that I can, or not money, skills. Many skills. Faster sneak. Increase the speed of the core grab. Let's do that. And let's do more restoration. More health restoration when we get stuff. The fanny pack is very good. I love it. Apparently, like, I can purchase, like, outfits. Which seems particularly silly because I can't see the character, but y'all know I'm gonna be buying them. Because I gotta look good. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting rid of all of the new notifications. Our character is precious, though. Akito, I love him. Very good. Okay, well, we'll look around in a minute. I want to know what's over here. KK, you cannot rush me. If you tell me to do something quickly, I will do it slowly, just to spite you, my guy. Known facts about me. I am a menace. I'm gonna get all the fancy drips so I can think my waiter. Yes. Perfect. Perfect. I need everyone to dink my oiter, please. Oh, boy. Okay, where else do you want me to look, bud? The fact that it's page up and page down to zoom, very upsetting to me. Speaking of dinking my oiter. Okay, can I back out at all? Consider? Right? Travis. Yeah, I've also never... I mean, I think I have in, like, a couple of games, but it's never been, like... It's always because there's been too many other hotkeys. Okay, I think... Kate, would you like to give me an idea of where I'm supposed to look? Here. Wait, I thought we did die. Never mind, I guess we didn't. Oh, who's this? Oh, he sees us. Oh, he sees us. Oh, he saw us. Lamia. Sorry, my cat is being super precious right now. She's under the desk and she keeps like... I keep moving my feet and then she will move herself to continue to lay on my feet.
そこに奴らの拠点があるのかも。
何回も逃がしてたまるかよ。おうぞ。
Do you just want me to, like, I'll jump. Do you just want me to jump? Those are Lamia. They are her feet now, honestly. What is happening here?
こんな状況じゃただただ高いだけの場所だな。
They belong to my cat now. And that is fine. Sometimes you just gotta send a message too early. I get it. I do it all the time. What is this man saying? I don't know what the man is saying. Okay, there we go.
その地位を貶められる必要など
なんだこりゃ。
Cat? Ama no Murakumo no Tsurugi Rug. I can't. Enter it is. One of the objects of supreme importance in Japanese mythology, which are together known as the Imperial Regalia. Regalia?
魂たちよ。肉体を捨てよ。私のもとに。
No, this man just wants everyone to die. Basically, is what I'm understanding. That music, though. Okay. Let's zoom on over here. I want to know how to get behind that door. You know? Is it here? This doesn't seem correct. Gotta punch all the things. We love elevator music here. Excuse me. How do I get in here? We've discussed this. Your Steam backlog gets handed down to your children. It gets handed down every generation until it's all gone. The joke is your Steam backlog will never go away because you will always have a backlog. It's a funny joke about how none of us can commit to playing every single game that we purchase. See, it's funny. I want to know how to get in here. Like, this is gonna bother me until I figure out how to get in here. Like, I don't see any other way to, like, get in. Maybe from the other side? Look, I will... Not that I plan on having any kids, but some some future creature of my family will get my Steam log and they will still have games to play from 2011. I've had my Steam account for ever. I've done it bad. Okay. Well... Ah! Sorry. Oh no. Game wants me dead. We have just determined. This isn't right, though. Because this is not this side, but around the corner. This is the side with the... Yeah. I hope that the sounds of me screaming are soothing and appreciated while you scroll through TikTok. Congrats! That's a big accomplishment! Salvia! Hella! Good job. Honestly though, Steam backlog? Prepare. Yeah, I'm just gonna fall. Are we ready? We've just fallen. Hey, but there's things over here, so that's exciting. It's true. Hi, Fruity. I don't know that anyone is prepared to deal with the ridiculousness that is my backlog. There's a lot of weird garbage in my Steam backlog. That's fine. You can lurk. Look, we love it when you're here and chatting with us. But also, sometimes you just gotta lurk. And that's fine and okay. What's the weirdest game that I have? We might have to take a break and, like, look. I don't know. I got some weird shit. I have over 400 games in my library. I think I might actually be pushing close to 500. Hi, I have a lot of games. Good Time Garden is great, but I don't think it's the weirdest. We love Good Time Garden. We love Good Time Garden here. It might be genital jousting. I don't know. We'll look. We'll take a second once I beat all this stuff. I mean, my backlog will never be finished anyway, but I mean, I will never say no to free games. If people want to gift me games, I'm not gonna tell you no. I will discourage you from doing it. But I will gladly accept it. Someone has to fund my video game addiction, okay? Also, Smiley, listen, 300 games is a lot. I'm gonna pull up Steam real fast. Hold on, I gotta look. Oh, like, sit here. Yeah, I have 478 games. in my Steam library, and this is after I recently went through and like got rid of a bunch of stuff that I like don't play anymore. And that's just on Steam. That doesn't include what I have like on my PlayStation or my Switch, or the other games that I have on my computer. Look, I've had my account since like 2011, I think. I've had it for a long time, okay? Weirdest game that I have. That's the thing, like, it's hard to, like, gauge what's weird for me. Because I have so much weird shit here anyway. Genital jousting is probably the one that you would do, like, a double take on. More than anything else. What else do I have? I have a bunch of weird Humble Bundle games. No, none of these are particularly odd. Well, again, comparatively. Yeah, I don't know. I don't actually own Golden Light. But it is pretty fucking weird. I played the demo for it, and I loved it. Golden Light, very good. Golden Light, very good. As soon as I own Golden Light, that will be the weirdest game that I own. But yeah, I have a lot of Steam games. I think we were talking about it the other day. I definitely, like, a few months back, I went and checked out that site that, like, tells you, like, how many games you have in Steam that you've, like, not played, / how, who is, like, what your, what your account might be worth based on, like, how much all the games you have in your account are being sold for at the moment. And it's, I have spent too much money on video games over the years. So that's a whole dang thing. Ow. Anyway, how are you? How's your Steam library? Oh boy. Oh, I don't think I do. I don't think I do, actually. I do have a spreadsheet for games that I want to play on stream. If that counts. And it's not just the games that I own, but like games that are coming out and they're like their potential release date, what platform they're gonna be on. Hi, I went a little wacky when I first started streaming. I need to update it, honestly. Look, any amount of video games is a good amount of video games. I mean, I'd always encourage people to get more video games because I'm a bad influence. But we respect all all Steam library sizes here. Good Time Garden is very good though, and it's free to play, so if you want something that's a little out there, and is definitely very full of drawings of body parts in a very funny way, Good Time Garden is what I would suggest. Look, yeah, no, the seasonal sales are usually what gets me. That's usually where I end up spending all my money. Can't argue with games being like 75% off. Also, it's definitely not a free game. We know this. It's very funny, though.
エドだ。またボイスレコーダーだな。
今の渋谷の状況を確認したい。あの奇妙な月を調べてくれないか。これはとても重要なことなんだ。データは複数欲しい。いくつかのポイントでデータを取ってくれ。必要なものは準備しておいた。後ろのロッカー。I had to skip this last month's Humble Bundle, because I am a broke bitch. But I do, like, generally get the Humble Bundle stuff, because, like, there's a lot of good games in there. Fair! You did gift me Cruelty Squad. And that's pretty fucking weird. The game, not the you gifting me a game. Hi, Akos! How's it going, friend? Cruelty Squad is definitely a really bizarre game. Again, it's really hard to like gauge what we would consider weird because like I don't know, I play a lot of weird shit anyway. You should, hey Fruity, you should play Cruelty Squad again. You should get the Meat Madness and play Cruelty Squad again so Salvia can watch somebody play Cruelty Squad. I try every so often to play Cruelty Squad. I have such a hard time with the controls though. It's a wacky fucking game. You got the Meat Madness, it's true. Also, we're doing good, Akos. Enjoying this weird game that we're playing. Enjoying hanging out with friends. It's a good time. I'm glad you're doing well too. It is always good to know that my friends are doing well. I thought this trash can had a face.
It did not. Trash can did not have a face. What is this?
なんだろうこれ。
What is this
観
thing?
測装置だろうな。腕につけてみろ。
Put it on your arm.
開けた場所に行こう。月がしっかり見える場所だ。
ビルの屋上とかかな。
Where? Oh my god, he has me going everywhere. Ed! Ed, listen! But yeah, if you stand to do it again, Rudy, you should play Cruelty Squad. I enjoyed your Cruelty Squad streams. They were a lot of fun. Have some food, doggo. I get that though. That's one reason why I like streaming, like doing like strictly like horror and mystery stuff. Because I know that there are a lot of people who are like interested in it but can't necessarily play it themselves. And I have no issue playing it. So like if I can act as that buffer for folks, let's go. I just love horror and like sharing it with people. I like horror. I just think it's neat.
あ、高いな。行ってみる。
Oh? You want me to go up there? That Tengu is too far away. Hold on. Also, there's more spirits over here. There's another freaking dog over here too, though. Hi, dog. Do you want some food?
食べ。
I can smell food and it smells delicious.
慌てずに食べな。
Thanks, doggo. Do you want to give me money? Give me money, dog. Hey, dog. Why did it make that noise? We are on the lookout for Tanuki, but I don't know, like, the best way to go about looking for them. That might be, like, an off-stream thing that I do. Again, like, I don't know how, like, invested everyone is in me potentially, like, 100%ing this. I think I would like to do that. But, like, I know that it would be potentially tedious to watch. So I might just do that in my own time. Potentially buy some stores. No, so I was told by the boss Tanuki that they're gonna be all over the place, hiding his objects. Which is fine. They can do what they want. But I'll be able to see their tails. We have established that. They'll just be hidden as objects that aren't supposed to be there. And it's like, this is a big game. There's a lot to look at and a lot of places that things could be hiding. Give me all of these. Wait, can we get up there? They're raccoon dogs, aren't they? Can I get up there? Can I climb this? No, there's no ladder. Okay, that's fine. I want to go over here. I just made it. Perfect. I do want to try and, like, get all the spirits, though. And again, I know that that's going to be, like, tedious to watch. I do need that quadruple jump. You're right. When do we get the quadruple jump? Hey. Yeah, they're like... I don't remember what they are. I used to know. But they were referred to as. Because they look like it. They look like a combination. Let's just stab him in! Stab him in! Gotta stab him in! Stab him in! This is gonna hurt me! I like the big boys. They're cute. Whoa! Hey! I need him to put his umbrella down. Whoa! Someone is throwing garbage at me. Come on. Akito, I need you to, like, not be a goober, okay? Stop throwing signs at me! This is incredibly incredibly rude of them. Ah! What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh boy. Oh, he's still up. Okay. not the big balls. It's not incorrect though. Get up there. Get up there. Punch that. Give me the bits. The bits, the bits, the bits. Shoot that. And then do a collection. Great. That was a very good amount of spirits, if I do say so myself. Okay, is there are some spirits up there and down here. There's a lot going on over here. Just quick purge. Can't absorb those just yet. Ma'am. Oh my god, there are too many enemies here. Oh, I can grab multiple cores at once now. I forgot about that. I like that. That's a cool move. Okay, okay. Great. Is that every awful thing that's down here? Tanuki are very cute. I like them. Okay, what are we doing? How many spirits do I have? Ooh, I need to dump these off. We have too many. Like, I'm almost capped, and that's a bit of an issue. I do need to buy more paper dolls. I need to remember to do that. Oh, there's too many things for me to do. I'm getting distracted every 10 seconds. Okay. Give me the money. Let's fill up on some bullets. Okay. Spirits will help us. There are a lot of phone booths around here. Okay. They give us experience, essentially. Experience and money, depending on how many we get. But in-game wise, like story-wise, we're supposed to collect them so that the spirit buddy that's hanging out with us, his friend can basically like revitalize the spirits so that they can be put back into their human bodies. So we gotta collect all of them so they can be people again. Basically, is the gist of that. Look at all that experience. 9,500. Also a decent amount of money. We need to go buy more paper dolls though, so we can get more, or just carry more with us in general. It's true, it's true. Like I said, I'm still not entirely sure that, like, what we're doing is great. I don't know, I just have this, like, innate distrust of KK, and I can't tell you why other than he's some weird spirit inhabiting our body? And that kind of makes me a little, you know, uncertain. I need a store. Specifically, I need... It's the artsy one. He showed up in my village naked and then wanted to play music for us, and it was just a little weird. It was just a little weird. Stalls. Okay. I want to go here. So I think that's the most straightforward convenience store that we can get to. Alright. And look, there's some spirits out here. Convenient. Okay. Hello, kitty. Sweet, sweet kitty. Good, good kitty. I can buy another 22 of these. Holy shit. Let's go.
これで敵の動きを止められるぞ。
That should, like, very nearly, double what's going on.
FQK Gaming is raiding with a party of 10. Kaysh and the gang welcome you.
Hi, friends! Faye and Kester, how is it going? Dark Knight, Shinny Kitty, hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, Raiders. How's it going? How are you doing? Let me get a shout out for you. There we go. What were we doing? Firework? What is this? What is this? Tell me about this game. How was your stream? But hello, welcome in, friends. How is it going? I think a lot of you know who I am. But in case you don't, my name is Kayshurrr. You can call me Kaysh. I'm a queer horror and mystery game streamer. We like to play spooky stuff around here. Yeah, we're currently playing a game called Ghostwire Tokyo. It just came out a couple weeks ago. It is very pretty, very interesting. Firework kind of horror, sad puzzle solving game? Okay, okay. I might have to look into that. Aw, I mean, I like sad endings personally, so. But did it get finished? Did y'all beat it? Hi, Kester. Hi, friend. But yeah, like I said, we play spooky stuff around here. Because of it, or because of that, I offer content warnings for every single game that we play. Like to make sure that you're making informed choices about what the kind of content that you're partaking in. And horror tends to be a little heavy sometimes, so it's just a good measure to make sure that you can watch something that you're down for. Thank you, Ali, for pulling that up. If you ever need to look at the content warnings, !CW will get you the list of trigger warnings for what we're playing. Ghostwire, it is fairly new. It does not have an official list of content warnings, either on the store page or the source that I usually use. So just approach it with some caution. Thus far, it's been pretty okay. There are some flashing lights and things like that. But so far, not too much as far as super heavy content is concerned. And if you are interested in checking out the game that we are playing, !Game link will give you generally a Steam link to whatever game that we're playing. We'll also list what consoles the game is available on. So you can share it with your friends, wishlist it, purchase it for yourself or someone you know. But yeah, Kester, thank you for the raid. I really, really appreciate it. How are you doing, friend? But yeah, you and your raiders have probably been streaming for a while. If you need to take a break, feel free to get up and do so. We'll be here for another hour or so. But it's very important to me that you take care of your dang self, so get some food, get some water, do a stretch, step away from your computer for a minute, rest your eyes. I don't know, do whatever. But also, if you want to stay, that's totally cool and that's totally cool, and we would love that. We would love to have you stay, but again, I need you to take care of yourself. So if you need to take a break, feel free to do so. Also, thank you, Ellie, for getting all that up. If you are interested in checking out some of my other content, I do have a Twitter and an Instagram, and I've got a YouTube where I archive all of my previous streams. So if you're interested in checking any of that out, there are the links for those. Boss, I know you're gonna refuse, but I would still like it if you took care of yourself. But yeah, welcome in, friends. Like I said, we're playing Ghostwire Tokyo today. It is very interesting. We really like it. It's very pretty. We're basically fighting ghosts and demons and trying to stop some dude from stealing all the spirits of the people in Shibuya. Hey. But it's really cool. It's very pretty. It's very fun. I'm enjoying it a ton. So I hope that you end up liking it as well. I'm glad you're doing well, Kester. I'm also happy you're here. It's been a minute. I know I've been like super busy as of late. Life's been wild and hectic, and I assume it's been the same for everyone. But it's always nice to see when you or Faye go live. I need to stop in more often. Maybe actually say hello instead of just lurking like I do. What are we doing? What am I trying to do? Where am I going? I kind of want to do the side quest. It's been here for a while. It's about time that we address it. Let's go. But yeah, welcome in, friends. It's nice to see y'all. I forgot what we were talking about beforehand. Oh well. Oh well. If it's important, it'll come back up. And if not, we'll move on. Who is yelling? Oh, it's just an advertisement. Okay. I was very confused. Just sounded far more dynamic than any of the characters have sounded so far. Oh, do I have anything new for you? I know you've got a favor to ask of me. I don't have anything new to give him. It's a shame, but that's okay. We do need to go find the Artie Nekomata at some point. Yeah, so some fog rolled in, brought in by Demon Boy, and kind of wiped everyone out. That's totally fair. Thank you for stopping in, Dark Knight. Take care of yourself. We'll see you later, friend. I hope the rest of your time zone goes super well. Also, what? Big hole in your home? Sorry, my lips are like super chapped today. I'm not kidding. Don't you want to get sucked into a ghost hole? Listen. Oh my god, hold on. Okay, I have too many quests up at the moment. Gotta pay the troll toll to get into this ghost hole. Perfect. Beautiful. Main mission. Let's get rid of... I don't want to... Hold on. Hide objectives. Okay. Also, we have points that we need to spend. Causes ether to appear when hitting enemies with strike attacks. That's the punch. Okay. I should do that. We should get that. Like, why wouldn't I get that? Oh, maybe I should just get both of these, honestly. The more bullets I can have, the better. Hold on, sorry, we gotta get rid of all of the new icons because they bother me so much. Okay. This is much better. This is much better. What is happening here?
あいつは物欲の塊なんだ。俺の大事なものまで盗みやがって。
Oh.
随分と客
Oh.
おい、霊を吸い込みやがった。
Sir. Okay, this is fine. Ah! I did that bad! I did it bad! It's fine. Let's just get these lads out of here. If I could actually aim, maybe that might help. It might help to aim. Okay, let me go in then, buddy. Let me get in there. Oh. Oh. Oh, pal. Oh no. I don't want to be here. I will take your toy though. Okay. This is too much. Damn, you live like this? Oh, hand seal, sorry. Okay. There, up, down. I don't like the double click that I have to do there. It's not always super responsive. It's fine. Okay, so up, there. There we go. Where is it going? Stop running! I didn't mean to shoot the door. Right, down, up, there. I do appreciate that, like, the drawing bit is very lax. Don't have to have it be, like, super specific. Kind of? Yeah? We just do a lot of pew-pews with our hands. Gotta just shoot some things with your pew-pew hands. You know. Someone has some manga. Okay. KK, give me a minute. Oh. Oh, buddy. No, thank you. Oh. This isn't great. Oh, this isn't great. Oh. But... Okay, this is fine. This is fine. Ma'am. Come on. Great. Ah! You can't just spawn right on top of me! Okay, this is fine. This is fine! We've done it. We're doing the thing. I need there to be less enemies for 2 seconds while I refill
on bullets? Thank you. Okay, give me that. Get out of the way. Ah! I need everyone to stop throwing garbage at me. Please and thank you. Great. Okay, can I? I'm ready to go. Let's go. Seal time. Up and then a full circle. Gotcha. Understood. I did it. Oh boy. Okay, can we get out of here? Can I leave?
死んでも欲に取りつかれるんだな。
そういうやつは結局すべてを失うがな。
Okay. Woo. Big yawn.
吸い込んで戻ってこなかったものはどこに行ったのかな。
We
物が完全になくなるなんてことはない。
might end
どっかにこっそり戻ってきてんのかもな。
Can't talk to you. Okay. So I am starting to get a little tired. Well, man's gone. Great. Do you give me any spirits or do you just vanish? You just vanish. But yeah, we might call it soon. It's like I said, I'm getting a little tired. Maybe we'll do one more, like, side mission. Okay, where else can we go? Hold on, what is... It was showing me, like, that I had a mission in the area, and I don't know what it was. It would be a hot mess. Probably. I do have one of the Yakuza games, in my library. But I think it's like 3? I got it from a Humble Bundle. As we were talking about earlier. And I've seen people play them, but I've never played them myself. I hear there's mahjong in it, and I don't know. I have not played Shenmue, but I am familiar. 3 is the slowest. What does that mean? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's a game that I would enjoy playing. They're fun to watch. But I don't know. Maybe sometime in Discord we can check it out. See if it is something that I would enjoy playing. Okay, I don't want to deal with any of those guys. There it is. Yeah, if any of you aren't in the Discord and would like to hang out with us after streams, Discord link is right there. We watch horror movies together on On Sundays. I love you too, Smiley. Go lay down. Get some good rest, friend. It was really nice to hang out earlier. We should do it again sometime soon. But yeah, we have the Discord link there. We watch horror movies together on Sundays. The last Friday of every month, we try to play video games together in the server as like a community day kind of thing. And lately we've been hanging out in the in what are the evenings for me and playing Elden Ring together, although any game is welcome during those sessions. Yeah, it's a good fun time in there. I think it's a good fun time in there. But if you'd like to join, do so. We'd love to have you. Okay, where am I trying to go? I want to go here. It is, yeah, we have been discussing which Muppet would be best for which scenario. If you got stuck in a zombie apocalypse, which Muppet would you bring? You can only choose one. I think I've been convinced that Sweetums would be the best. Oh, I have been spotted. It's not great. I would like to not be spotted. I would like to be no longer perceived. Sweetums is an extremely good choice. I don't know. My gut reaction was Animal. Not necessarily because I think Animal would be good in the long term, but definitely would be very funny for a while. Just the chaos that would be sown. Yeah, the only pair that counts is Waldorf and Statler. It would be weird if they weren't together. They have to come together. Facts. Yeah, I mean, Sweetums wouldn't be particularly quiet, but you know, I think we could work with that. Look, I'm not a particularly quiet human being. I can be quiet if I have to be. Okay. I could if I wanted to be. Alright. I tried to jump to the other building and I fucked it up. So we gotta try again. And not fuck it up this time. Is the thing. The thing is, we have to do this and not mess it up. Like that. Yeah, I don't know that Sweetums could be quiet. It's only one way to find out! Okay, can we... There are a lot of things here that I want. There is no fall damage and it's very nice. Miss Piggy for sustenance. See, Miss Piggy would be great because she's a fighter. She could definitely hold her own, but I feel like she would probably I don't know. There'd be a lot of drama around Miss Piggy. But if we're talking about keeping people around for, well, I say people, keeping anything around for food, Miss Piggy would be great. She would 100% be a bite hider. Miss Piggy, absolutely a bite hider. I will not be convinced otherwise. Can't trust her. I don't know, felt might be tasty. Could eat the hand inside, it's true. People bacon. Okay, can I absorb these buddies? Here I was being like, I'm gonna try and get... Rizzo would be a good choice. And he's small, so he could I don't know, he could check stuff out. Easily be able to get into you know, other rooms, other places, and scout ahead. Not Beaker. It's a fair point, though. And worst comes to worst, you could just yeet him at someone. I think it would be worse than Miss Piggy. Yeah. I don't know. I think I would rather take somebody who can't even like recognize that they've been bitten over somebody who would actively hide a bite. Not that it would be great, honestly. Like it would be bad. It would be a terrible thing to have in that kind of a situation, but Gonzo is an extremely strong choice. A lot of the Muppets do have experience as projectile weapons. Good points. These are good points. This is probably like my favorite icebreaker right now. I don't even necessarily want to call it that, but like it's a very very good way to like feel people out, get their opinion on things. I don't know, I like it. Good discourse happening around Muppets in a zombie apocalypse. Having a single reckless person in your group is not inherently a bad thing. You just have to keep close tabs on them. And then see, like, either of those options, not great. I don't want either of those with Miss Piggy. She'd be a bite hider and she'd cause drama. She'd be very obvious about hiding a bite and pretend that she wasn't. Hi, cat. Oh, never mind. Can't say hello to the cat. That's a lot of cats. It has been pointed out that she is felt. I don't know if the bacon thing would be great unless we are completely okay with eating people hands. Which, like, I'm fine with it. Gotta eat. Okay, hold on. There was a thing over here? I can pet the cat. Hi, Phoebe. Little purrs. Okay. Be so bad. Fair point. Fair point. Get her! Oh, I've been smacked. Okay, my brain cannot figure out how I'm supposed to get up. How do go up? Punch it, please. Please. What if we just run through and we don't bother any of these guys? How do we go up? I just want to keep going up. Okay. No, cats! Cats are getting in our way and making me fall off all the time. Bad cats. Oh my god. You know what? Can I get up there from here? No. I hate this tower. I'm not gonna set him on fire, Fruity. That's your shtick. Okay, here we go. Oh, there they are. No. Hey, game, I need to go up. I need you to let me go up. I don't want to glide. I want to go up. How do we go higher? There, I found it. There's a ladder over here. Oof. Oof. I just want to get to the top of this tower and then we'll probably call it there. JK! This is where- oh my god, this is where I was! I was just here! Does our friend have, like, helpful advice for how to get up? Do we see any Tengus? Consider? No? Great. Great. Love that. Can I... Oh, I found it. Ask him for directions, then light him on fire. I don't know that any of that would be helpful, but I'll give it a try. We'll give it a shot. After we check out these elevators. Okay, let's do that. We'll do that. There's a lot of ghosties around here. I do like that I don't really have, like, a range limit on being able to, like, grab these cores. That's pretty nice. Okay, up. We have to keep going up. It's a good emote. Don't worry about it. Fruity just has the tendency to set cats on fire. It's a whole thing. Okay. Can we finish getting up here? Aim the device at the moon! It was a big incident. Consider it was a very large incident. And to make it seem like less of a large incident, we're calling it a tendency. Alright, where's our next one? We could... I can't jump. I can't make that. That's too far. Listen. I'm gonna try. Ah! Okay, that's fine. Let's go ahead and kill these ladies, and then we'll finish the side quest on Wednesday. Sound good? Yeah. Yeah. I am tired. Oh wait, here's the Art Nekomata, so let's just meet him real fast. Got a favor? I have some art for you, buddy. Look at this. Give me that money. Outfit? Outfit? Okay. Let's go ahead and do a save. Accept. Cool. And we'll quit to the title. And gonna end it here. Cause like I said, I'm a little tired. Streamed an hour less than I would normally like to do, but you know what? We still got our 3 hours in, and I'm excited about that. I'm still really enjoying this game, and I hope that y'all are as well. Let me turn on some music while we say our goodbyes. Game is very cool. I'm really enjoying it. But let's, excuse me, find someone to raid. Alright, you wanna go say hi to Toads? Toads is doing some DVD. No, we haven't seen Toadsworthy in a hot minute. Unless somebody has a suggestion. Always willing to take those. Alright. Oh, sorry, I gotta stretch. My shoulder hurts. This is fine. Alright. Yeah, if no one has any suggestions, we'll go hang out with Toadsworthy. We like our friend. Like I said, they're doing some DBD. And they're just a very nice, wonderful human being to hang out with. So yeah, as always, thank y'all for being here and hanging out. It's been very wonderful and fun to see y'all. We will come back to Ghostwire on Wednesday. Do some indie stuff on Friday. Probably do some indie stuff on Friday. And then get back to, well, I guess we're doing something special on Saturday, and then we'll do Walking Dead on Sunday. It'll be great. Don't even worry about it. But yeah, until then, take care of your dang selves. Have a good rest of your time zone. And we'll see you later, friends. Bye.